$2 million. That's how much money was sitting on the table in a Los Angeles office in 1973, waiting for Muhammad Ali to sign a contract for his rematch with Ken Norton. $2 million. More money than most people would see in 10 lifetimes. More than Ali's mother had made in her entire life. Enough to secure his family's future forever. The promoter, a wealthy white businessman named Harold Brennan, who controlled half the boxing venues in California, knew he had Ali over a barrel. Norton had broken Ali's jaw in their first fight, and Ali needed this rematch to prove he was still the greatest. Brennan knew Ali needed him. So when Brennan showed up to the contract meeting almost 4 hours late, keeping Ali, Ali's lawyer, and Ali's manager waiting from 10 a.m. until nearly 2 p.m., he walked in with no apology, just arrogance. "I'm a busy man, Ali," Brennan said, tossing his briefcase on the table. "Let's get this done quick." What Ali said next, 5 words that took 3 seconds to say, ended Harold Brennan's career in boxing and taught everyone in that room that some things matter more than money. March 31st, 1973. 6 months had passed since Ken Norton broke Muhammad Ali's jaw in their first fight in San Diego. The loss had been devastating, not just physically, though the broken jaw required surgery and 6 weeks with his mouth wired shut, but psychologically. The boxing world had started writing Ali's obituary. At 31 years old, after 3 years stripped of his title for refusing to go to Vietnam, after fighting his way back to relevance, one loss to an underdog had people saying he was finished. Norton wasn't supposed to win. He was a 5-1 underdog, a journeyman fighter with a 29-1 record, but no signature victories. The fight was supposed to be a tune-up for Ali before a title shot. Instead, Norton broke Ali's jaw in the 11th round and won a split decision. The X-rays showed a clean break on the right side of Ali's mandible. The doctors wired his jaw shut. For 6 weeks, Muhammad Ali, the man whose mouth was as famous as his fists, who'd built his legend on trash talk and poetry, couldn't speak above a mumble. The rematch was scheduled for September 1973 at the Forum in Los Angeles. Harold Brennan was the promoter. At 52 years old, Brennan had been in boxing for nearly 20 years. He'd promoted fights for champions, controlled venues up and down the West Coast, and had connections with networks, casinos, and venues that made him one of the most powerful men in the sport. He was also known for something else: arrogance. Brennan treated fighters like commodities, like assets on a balance sheet. He'd made millions off their blood and broken bones, and he never let them forget who controlled the money. When Brennan reached out to Ali's team about the Norton rematch, the offer was substantial: $2 million for Ali, the largest purse of his career to that point. Norton would get $750,000. The venue was secured, the date was set. All they needed was signatures. The contract meeting was scheduled for 10 a.m. on a Tuesday morning at Brennan's office in Beverly Hills. Ali arrived at 9:45 a.m. with his lawyer, Charles Lomax, and his manager, Gene Kilroy. They were shown to a conference room by Brennan's secretary, who offered coffee and assured them Mr. Brennan would be right with them. At 10:15, the secretary came back to apologize. Mr. Brennan was running a few minutes late. Traffic on the 405 was backed up. At 10:45, she came back again. Mr. Brennan had called from his car. He'd be there very soon, maybe 15 minutes. At 11:15, no secretary, no updates, just silence. At 11:30, Lomax was getting irritated, checking his watch for the 100th time. "This is unprofessional. We should leave. This is deliberate." But Ali shook his head. He needed this fight. The boxing world needed to see that Norton hadn't finished him, that the broken jaw was just a setback, that Muhammad Ali was still the greatest. $2 million was hard to walk away from. His mother Odessa could retire from her domestic work. His children, Miriam, Rashida, and Jamila, would be set for college. This was the biggest payday of his career. So they waited. At 12 noon, Kilroy tried calling Brennan's secretary from the phone in the conference room. No answer. The outer office was empty. They were alone on this floor. At 12:30, Lomax stood up and started pacing. This is deliberately disrespectful. He's making us wait on purpose. This is a power move, Ali. Ali knew Lomax was right. This wasn't traffic. This wasn't an emergency. This was a power play. Brennan was making them wait to establish dominance, to remind them who controlled the money, who controlled the venues, who controlled their future. It was the oldest game in business. Keep them waiting, make them feel small, make them grateful when you finally show up. At 1 p.m., Ali was pacing too. He'd been in this conference room for over 3 hours. 3 hours of his life, sitting in a chair, staring at walls, waiting for a man who clearly didn't respect his time or his presence.
At 1:47 p.m., 3 hours and 47 minutes after the scheduled meeting time, Harold Brennan walked in. He didn't apologize, didn't explain, didn't even acknowledge that he was late. He just walked into his own conference room like he was right on time, tossed his expensive leather briefcase on the table, and sat down. "I'm a busy man, Ali," Brennan said, pulling out the contracts. "Let's get this done quick." The room went silent. Lomax and Kilroy both looked at Ali, waiting to see how he'd react. They'd worked with Ali long enough to know that look on his face, jaw set, eyes narrowed, that stillness that came before an explosion. "You're a busy man," Ali repeated slowly. "That's right," Brennan said, not even looking up from the contracts. "I've got 3 other meetings today, so if we could just—" "You had me waiting almost 4 hours," Ali said, his voice calm but cold, "and you walk in here and tell me you're busy." Brennan finally looked up. For the first time, he seemed to register that Ali wasn't happy, but instead of apologizing, Brennan did something worse. He dismissed it. "Look, Ali, I run a business. I've got a lot going on. You want this fight or not? Because I've got other fighters who'd love a $2 million payday." That was the moment. That was when Brennan made his fatal mistake. He threatened Ali, reminded him that he was replaceable, suggested that the money should make Ali grateful enough to overlook the disrespect. Ali stood up. "You know what the problem is, Harold?" Brennan looked annoyed. "What?" "You think because you control the money, you control me. You think because I need this fight, I'll sit here for 4 hours and take whatever disrespect you throw at me. You think $2 million means I'll let you treat me like I don't matter. Ali, come on. You showed up to your own meeting 4 hours late. You didn't call, you didn't apologize, and you finally walked in here. You told me you're busy, like your time matters and mine doesn't, like I'm supposed to be grateful that you showed up at all." Brennan was starting to look uncomfortable. "Look, I'm sorry, okay? Traffic was don't. Don't insult me with lies. This wasn't traffic. This was you showing me what you think of me. This was you reminding me that you've got the power and I'm just the fighter." Lomax and Kilroy were watching this unfold, unsure where it was going. The contracts were right there on the table, $2 million, the biggest payday of Ali's career. All he had to do was sign. "Here's what you don't understand, Harold," Ali said, his voice getting quieter but more intense. "I've been disrespected by bigger men than you. The U.S. government tried to put me in prison. They stripped my title. They banned me from boxing. They took 3 years of my prime, 3 years I'll never get back, years when I was in my absolute peak. You know why I wouldn't back down? Why I didn't apologize and just go to Vietnam?" Brennan didn't answer. "Because some things matter more than boxing. Some things matter more than titles. Some things matter more than staying out of prison. And some things matter more than money." Ali pointed at the contracts on the table. $2 million is a lot of money. It's more money than my mother will see in her lifetime working as a domestic. It could change my family's life forever. It could set my children up for college. It could buy my mother a house. But you know what it can't do?
Brennan was staring at Ali now, starting to realize this wasn't going the way he'd planned. "It can't buy my respect. It can't make me forget that you just wasted 4 hours of my life. And it can't make me work with a man who thinks I'm beneath him." "Ali, you're overreacting. Get out of my sight. 5 words, said calmly, quietly, but with absolute finality. Brennan blinked. What? Get out of my sight, Ali repeated, spacing each word out. This meeting is over. I'm not signing your contract. I'm not fighting on your card. I'm done with you. Are you serious? Brennan's face was turning red. You're walking away from $2 million because I was late? I'm walking away from $2 million because you disrespected me, Ali corrected, and because you think money is enough to make me forget. Brennan stood up, trying to regain control. Ali, you're making a huge mistake. You need this fight. Norton broke your jaw. The whole world thinks you're finished. Without this rematch, your career is over. Then my career is over, Ali said, but at least I'll know I didn't sell my dignity for a paycheck. Brennan tried a different approach. Think about your family. Think about your kids. $2 million. I am thinking about my family, and I'm teaching them something more valuable than money. I'm teaching them that you don't let people disrespect you, no matter how much they're offering. I'm teaching them that your word matters, that your time matters, that you matter, and no amount of money changes that. Lomax was gathering the papers Ali's team had brought. Kilroy was already standing, ready to leave. You're gonna regret this, Brennan said, his voice now carrying a threat. I'll make sure you never fight in California again. I'll tell every promoter on the West Coast that you're difficult, that you walk away from deals. You think you'll get another $2 million offer? You won't fight for half that. Ali walked to the door, then turned back. You know what's funny, Harold? You think you're punishing me, but really I'm freeing myself. I don't have to work with a man who doesn't respect me. I don't have to sit in rooms waiting for you to decide I'm worth your time. And most importantly, I'm showing every fighter who comes after me that promoters don't own us. The money doesn't own us. We own ourselves. Then Ali walked out, followed by Lomax and Kilroy. They left the contracts on the table, they left the $2 million, and they left Harold Brennan sitting alone in his conference room, probably for the first time in his career, not sure what had just happened. The boxing world heard about the meeting within days. Word spreads fast when a fighter walks away from the biggest payday of his career. Some people thought Ali was crazy. $2 million for being 4 hours late? That's just business. That's how promoters operate. Ali should have signed. But most people, especially the fighters, understood exactly what Ali had done and why. He'd drawn a line. He'd said that respect matters more than money, that dignity can't be bought, and even Muhammad Ali, who needed that fight and needed that money, wouldn't compromise on being treated like a human being. Brennan tried a different approach. He told people Ali was being difficult, that he'd made a simple mistake with the timing, that Ali had overreacted, but the damage was done. Fighters started asking questions when Brennan approached them. They started demanding respect clauses in contracts. They started showing up to meetings with Brennan and making him wait to see how he liked it.
Within 2 years, Brennan had lost most of his major connections. Fighters didn't want to work with him. Other promoters didn't want to partner with him. The reputation he'd spent 20 years building, that he was powerful, that he controlled the game, was replaced with a new reputation, that he was the man Muhammad Ali walked away from, the man who thought $2 million could buy respect, the man who learned the hard way that some things cost more than money. As for Ali, the Norton rematch happened anyway. Different promoter, different venue, different terms. Ali won by split decision, proving that Norton hadn't finished him, that the broken jaw was just a chapter, not the end of the story. The purse was smaller, $1.5 million instead of $2 million, but Ali said it was worth it. I lost $500,000 that day in Harold's office, Ali said years later in an interview, but I gained something more valuable. I proved to myself, to other fighters, to everyone, that we're not slaves to the money, that we have power too, the power to say no, the power to walk away, the power to demand respect. Harold Brennan never promoted another major fight. He faded from boxing, retired to Arizona, and died in 1989, largely forgotten. But the story of his meeting with Ali lived on, told and retold in gyms and locker rooms, a cautionary tale about what happens when you mistake control of the money for control of the people who earn it. If this story of respect over riches moved you, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Share this video with someone who needs to be reminded that not everything worth having can be bought. Have you ever walked away from money to keep your dignity? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to ring that notification bell for more incredible true stories about the moments when standing up for yourself changes everything.